and I believe the deer is still alive. I don't have any reason to think that he's dead. And I did have pictures of him here into October. It's perfect timing to put this poor man's food plot in. So I'm gonna get started, get this sprayer on my back and dive into the project. Today I'm back at the spot where I was talking about one of the deer that I was going to hunt this fall just a few weeks ago on the show. It was a deer that I'd called Upturn, and I believe the deer is still alive. I don't have any reason to think that he's dead. I know the neighbors didn't kill him. I haven't found him dead, and I did have pictures of him here into October. This is that spot I talked about where it was really going to be hard to hunt. This was my high risk, potentially high reward stand site, if you remember that episode. Today I'm going to come in here and create the little food plot back at the end of this field. I talked about it a little bit on that episode about how the farm equipment is too big now, they can't get back into some of these corners, and I'm going to use the poor man method, and I'm going to create a little food plot back here at the end of this field. This should be a great place to catch that buck when he stages to come out to feed in the larger field. I'm not sure what I'm going to have planned in the big field yet. I'm hoping corn, but I'm still a ways away from getting that done with all the rain that we've had here. But it's perfect timing to put this poor man's food plot in. So let me talk about what the steps are in producing these poor man plots. First off, it's super important to know that you can produce these things, or you can plant these things just about anywhere. You don't have to own land, you don't have to lease land. I know a lot of our viewers are doing this just on property that they have permission to hunt. Obviously you got to ask the landowner if you can do it, but any little spot like this, you can go in with a chainsaw or whatever you need and just kind of clean out the low brush. Get it exposed so you can see all the weeds and grass, and then you spray it with glyphosate, which is the all-purpose killer. It used to be called Roundup, now the generic brand is glyphosate. Spray it, get a good kill, and always in the past we've waited a couple of weeks and then come back and burn off all the residue. Make sure we expose the ground nice and black so the sun heats it up fast. You get, when it rains, you get really good germination. But talking with John Barsotti at Frigid Forage, he recommends that you don't even have to burn it off. So I'm going to try that with this plot this year. I'm just going to spray it, and I'm actually going to broadcast seed my pure trophy clover today. And I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks, check on it, see how it's doing, make sure that it's dead. Spread some fertilizer, take care of the plot, once I know that the seed is going to germinate. So the thinking is that any rains that come, any winds that blow, the seeds are going to work their way down to the ground level. So you'll still get the good seed to soil contact when the grass dies, falls down over the top of the seed. That's going to help to hold the moisture in even more. So I'm going to try it this year. Like I said, always in the past, my steps have been spray, wait 2 weeks, burn. Sometimes I'll then, rough up the ground a little bit with like a landscaping rake, those 3-foot wide rakes, and then broadcast seed, and then also broadcast the fertilizer, and then pray for rain. So I guess you got 6 steps. But this time we're just going to say, okay, spray, broadcast seed, fertilize, pray for rain. So we got it down to 4 steps: no burn and no rake. Before I get started, I'm going to talk about what I brought along on this project. First is the seed. Like I said, this is the Pure Trophy Clover blend from Frigid Forage. I like blends because under any given conditions, you might have one or two varieties within the blend that do really well. You know, maybe it's a dry year and you've got more drought tolerant seed, or maybe it's a wet year and you've got something in the blend that adapts better to higher moisture, different types of soil conditions. I know some areas are, you know, more acidic. There are, you know, the blends are better for that sort of thing. So pure trophy clover, we need something to spread it with. And I've got this Earthway Even Spread. These things are about 40 bucks. You can buy them online. You know, I've run through a couple of them in my career here, you know, making food plots. They do a nice job. Nothing special there. I've got a backpack sprayer. This one is it's a 4-gallon version. It'll do a little over 1/4 of an acre. So I've got extra water with. It's about a 1/2 acre spot. I've got an extra extra jug of water here, another 5 gallons of water, and then the glyphosate, so I can mix up another batch for the sprayer after I get done, you know, running through the first load. So it's really all I need. I mean, you can do a lot more. You can get really fancy. You can use, you know, hand tillers. You can, you know, if you got a garden tiller, they'll definitely improve the germination of your seed. So that's really the biggest challenge that we've got with these poor man plots, is to get the seed to germinate. You know, get that seed to soil contact, you know, get it so that seed can get a root down before it dries out too much and kills that little seedling. So I'm going to get started, get this sprayer on my back and dive into the project. By the time I'm done, you know, hopefully you're inspired that this is not real hard to do. This is something that you can definitely do in the places where you hunt. It's going to be a great spot for anchoring that buck into one place. Get him to stage right here before he heads out into that bigger field to feed. This is an 8.5 pound bag, which is good for 1 acre. And I'm gonna really bump up the seeding rate here because of the fact that I'm seeding it into that standing grass. So I'm gonna be at about twice the normal rate. So it's probably a little bit less than 1/2 acre, right around 1/2 acre. So I'm putting an acre's worth of seed into 1/2 acre. If I had this opened up where either I tilled it or got it down to bare dirt, I'd probably seed it maybe just a little bit over the rate that's on the bag. But in this situation, I'm gonna go real heavy. That was a lot more work than I thought. I think I'm just starting to get old here. But these poor man plots are all about putting in the sweat and not the cash. One thing we got to keep in mind on this one, and I'll keep updating you on this plot. Two things. First one being the fact that there was a lot of grass in there. There's a lot of residue, a lot of dead grass left over from the winter, and then there's a lot of fresh grass, new growth. And granted, it should all die, but I'm not 100% sure that seed's going to find its way down to the ground. If we get a pounding rain, maybe it will. Clover seed's pretty small. But we'll have to keep an eye on that. The other thing is these small ridgetop food plots like this that are surrounded by timber require a plan B. And plan B on this one is to come back in here in late July and till it up and plant big and beastie here. The reason I have a plan B is because of the drought conditions that you get with the tree roots growing underneath these spots. If you get a lot of rain during the summer, it'll do just fine. But if you have a dry summer, those roots just suck all the moisture out of the ground and you end up with basically your food plot just dies. So we'll keep those two things in mind, but otherwise I'm excited about the prospects. This should be a great spot, you know, for a couple of hunts this fall trying to catch up with that buck. In this final segment before we close, I'm going to bring Justin Fabian in. We're going to talk about aging deer. So on this farm, I try to focus on bucks that are 5 years old and older. And the deer that I'm going after in this spot, the one I've nicknamed Upturn, he'll be a 5-year-old deer this year. And some of that aging deer, the only way I can do it very accurately is to have some history with the deer. But Justin actually took a buck last year on public land. He passed up several younger deer and then took what he thought was a mature, or felt was a fully mature buck. And he's got a certificate of aging here. He sent the incisor in to be sectioned. And go ahead and tell us what it says on there, Justin. This is actually pretty interesting because I never would have guessed this buck to be that old.
Yeah, this is from a company called Deer Age. They're out in Montana. And you just pull the 2 bottom incisors and you send them in, and they do a certified aging on it using a process called cementum annuli. It's where they take a cross section of that incisor at the root to count the rings inside the tooth, similar to the way a tree would be aged. And they send you back a nice certificate and an email just to get you excited ahead of time. But it says, "We hereby certify that the whitetail buck deer harvested by Justin Fabian on November 9th, 2018 in Madison County, Iowa."
Madison County, folks.
Was 8 1/2 years old, based on the specimens submitted to us and analyzed in our laboratory by forensic cementum annuli aging.
8 1/2.
Yeah.
8 1/2. I mean, that's amazing on public land.
Yeah,
to kill
really
an 8 1/2-year-old buck.
And it was just nice, kind of validating to have passed those younger deer that I knew weren't fully mature, to actually end up with a deer that kind of just blows the doors open on a public land mature buck like that. So it was rewarding in the fact that those decisions were correct and it paid off for me. So
plus, you got a major award out of the deal.
Major award.
That's it for this week. I appreciate you joining us. We'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail. And remember to always dream big.